What's up, friends? Today, I want to show you a little bit about how to use the vocoder on your vocals to get sounds like this. Without the vocoder, it would, oh, let me turn that delay off. Without the vocoder, it would actually sound like this. And then with the vocoder, you get that really cool robot-y vocoder sound. And to solo it one more time so you can really hear it, this channel is playing now. Very, very cool. And you can blend this amount into the dry signal. So it kind of wreaths the dry signal and gives your vocal this kind of robot-y, vocodery sort of texture. Now, how do you use a vocoder? We've looked before at the uses of your noise feature, where you can actually set the vocoder to sound like white noise. But the way vocoder is really supposed to work or I guess the way it was designed to work, is that you actually have an incoming synth signal, send that timbre to the vocoder that you can put on the voice. So the way you set it up is you want to load up your vocoder and tell it to take external input from whatever destination you want. In this case, my destination I've named Vocode so I can find it. And what this sound is a serum patch that sounds kind of like a bunch of saw waves. If I solo this serum patch here, it sounds like this. And then basically this vocoder is going to our channel 86 where the vocal is living, and I'm telling it to take that input here, and I'm blending that amount in. So I'm not hearing the vocode signal. That serum sound that's sending these saw waves is actually deactivated. We don't need to hear it, but it does need to be overlapping our actual area that you're going to send the signal to. Watch what happens if I move it off over here to the left. Now where the vocal is playing, when there's no vocoder, we're not going to get the effect, which is a shame. But if I was to move this back over here, listen again. Now I've got that cool metallic saw wave timbre. And if I come up to the vocoder sound and I go up an octave, you get this higher pitch saw wave being blended into the vocal. So it's easy to set up, but the thing to really remember is that when you bring on your vocoder, basically from your audio effects, where are you, friend? Here we go. Oh, come on, bring it on up. You want to set your noise over here from noise into external. Find the destination that you're looking to receive the signal from. In this case, it's a MIDI saw wave, though it does work with audio as well. I'm going to tell this to take input from vocode. Like I've shown you before, when you have a lot of these drop-down things, it can be hard to find what you're looking for. So in a drop-down box inside of Ableton, if you type the first three letters, VOC, it'll find it for you and you can hit enter. And now I have found that vocoder. Very quick tip. Now, one thing about this vocoder is look at how mine is different in these yellow lines versus the default one. What each of these yellow lines are is a representation of the harmonic that's being played. So if I play, let's turn this all the way on. It's all the way wet right now, and we'll go through some of the characteristics of the vocoder that you can use to change your sound. Now, if I go ahead and I play, we're getting that cool saw wave sound blended into the voice. And what these yellow lines are, friends, are basically representations of the harmonics happening on your spectrum analyzer. So if I don't want any lows, I can bring these yellow lines down over here, and now watch all the lows go away. So now I just have high end. And what we're also seeing is look at how we have a bunch of peaks here at 1K. You can kind of see them represented over here. It's very, very peaky there. So say I want to subdue that 1K peak, I could bring the middle voices or the middle harmonics down some to get a flatter, more controlled, more even signal distributed across the voice. Now, you might be wondering, why does this one look so fat? Why are these fatter yellow lines? Because I've set my bands to have less amounts of bands. When you use 4 bands, you really only have the 4 regions of like a mix. You have your low end, your low mids, your high mids, and your highs. And you get a more stable sound to the vocoding. So if I want to drop the lows, I can just bring down this band. If I want to control the low mids, bring it down over here, or control it to taste. Then when you have lots of bands, let's go to 40 different bands, what happens is you get a more watery, more washy kind of sound. A little bit more like a resonator because it's splitting up the sounds into multiple bands here. Now, a couple other aspects about the control over here is you can go from precise to retro sounding vocoding. Retro has a little bit more of like a old school kind of feel in the timbre, and you can feel that it's like a little bit more watery, in my opinion. Next up, you have this bandwidth. And if your bandwidth is very narrow, let me make sure this isn't going to be too loud. Check your headphones. But if your bandwidth is 200%, you get a grainier sort of sound. And when your bandwidth is very low and you have 10% of the original bandwidth, watch and listen to what happens. You get these chimies. What that's doing is it's taking our bands and it's making them very narrow. So you're only hearing one frequency come through each one of these little yellow harmonics here. And that's why we have this very linear, spiky, almost chime-like kind of vocal. That can be very intense on your ears, especially here at 1K, because there's a lot of energy going like right into that one band because you only have one harmonic happening in that band. So be careful with small amount of band sizes. It can fatigue the ear, but it can also sound kind of cool. Let's go back to our precise setting, and I'm going to actually go to like, let's go to let's go to like 12 here. Go to 12 bands. I'm going to bring down some of the low mids and the mids a little bit, get a little bit more control out of them. Try and flatten off the waveform in here. Cool. Now, some other things to be aware of is you have depth over here. And if your depth goes down, you're hearing far more of the saw wave that you're patching through into the vocal, not really hearing much of the vocal at all. And if you're on the right-hand side, you're really hearing the vocal without that horizontal spread that the saw wave is giving to the sound. You can blend between those two extremes. Hear how it's more of a synth sound when I'm off on the left-hand side? And the vocal is just barely talking in there. And then when I'm on the right-hand side, we don't get the horizontal synth. We pretty much just get it added to the vocal. Next up, you have your formant. If you pitch the formant down, it basically focuses the intensity of the synth towards the low end. And if you focus your formants up, you'll hear more of the synthy sound being applied to the highs of the vocal. So it's kind of like a tone control. You can boost the lows and turn the highs down, or you can boost the highs and turn the lows down. Now, you can have it mono, you can have it stereo, or you can have it left-right, which actually creates stereo spread. It offsets the left ear and the right ear a little bit, giving you a really nice wide signal. Let's listen for the difference between these three. Let's check out mono first. Stereo. There's the original signal, and now left-right. Hear how there's a little bit more shimmer on our right ear and our left ear, so that's the maximum width that you can achieve with this. Then you have your attack and your release. Now, I don't do the attack that much. Basically, it's how quickly the saw wave comes into the sound. So if I have an attack of 322 milliseconds, it's going to take 322 milliseconds for the saw wave to be blended into the vocal. Doesn't really sound like it's doing much in that case. Oh, you know what? It's really kind of fading the transient of the vocal. Yeah, that soft attack feels more, more ambient. And the percussiveness of the something about the vocal is not nearly as prominent. Now your release is going to be how long the tails last for. So if you have a really tight release, it doesn't sound like the synth continues for that long. But check it out when I go to a longer release. I'm getting these long vocoded tails of the saw wave blended into the actual sound. So that can also give you a cool effect sometimes. Maybe you want there to be like a long tail on the very last word, so it rings out like you hear a saw wave's tail descend or something like that. Then you have the carriers enhancing. I don't really hear that huge of a difference with this. Let's check it out again before. I think it makes it a little bit higher quality. It might add some higher harmonics. I'm not really hearing that drastically. Our unvoicing, not sure what that does. Sensitivity, not sure really what that does. I'm not hearing that behave. I bet this unvoicing has to be on for us to hear the sensitivity. Oh, definitely hearing that. Seriously getting more noisy with this, so maybe you want a more gritty textural feel to the vocoding. It's pretty cool, honestly, pretty demonic. Let's try a slower rate with that. Yeah, it feels like there's like this white noise in the sound now, so that's kind of interesting. And then I would blend in the overall signal of the vocoder, so that way we have our dry, clear voice, and then blend it into taste. I think I want less bands. Let's try 8. Let's get more of that vocode sound on there and switch this all off. Cool. Hear how when I open up the release, I hear the tail of the saw wave a lot more in the sound. Let's go to our depth to the right so we hear more of just the lyrics getting vocoded and not the space in between. Pretty sweet, and now we can blend that in. So vocoders are really great for adding this sense of interest and character and like blending a synth into your voice so that you get the best of both worlds. Can't wait to see what you do with vocoders. Hopefully this was a helpful video, and I will see you all in another one. Mahalo and much